All right. Well, welcome everybody, and I'll call to order the benefits and quality. Just a couple of notes to make at the beginning. It's requested that participants introduce themselves every time they speak, and give their so we can understand your voice, who you are. And also, one other small note: we have a really full agenda today, so we really do need to concentrate on the qualifications design, or the benefits and qualifications for the upcoming year. We did discuss last time a very interesting issue about the impact of a third, carrier coming onto the exchange. We're not going to just ignore that, but we are going to recommend that the strategy committee take up that issue, because it does have ramifications. We just think the strategy committee should get involved with it. So with that said, Marcin, could you call the roll?
Dr. Ritter?
Yes, here.
Peter Doolittle? Mark Schaefer? Matthew Brockman?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Manisha Chutani? Tun Goin?
I'm on.
Neil Kelsey?
Here.
Ellen Skinner? Jill Zorn?
Here.
Thank you. And Paul Lombardo? Thank you.
Here.
And Mr. Chair, there is no public comment.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting? Somebody that was there?
So moved, Ted.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Matt Brockman.
Okay. Any comments or changes? If not, let's have a vote on it. Marcin?
Bram Ritter?
Yes. Accept.
Peter Doolittle?
Aye.
Mark Schaefer? Matthew Brockman? Tun Goin?
I'm a yes. Sorry, I had trouble unmuting.
Okay. Matthew Brockman, okay. Tun Goin?
Aye.
Neil Kelsey?
Here. Yeah, present.
Thank you. Did you vote in favor of the minutes?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Ellen Skinner? Jill Zorn?
Aye.
Thank you. And Manisha Chutani? Here. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great. Now I'll turn it over to Robert Lundo to update us on the enrollment figures from the last open enrollment.
Certainly. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
So we get together every time this year to essentially review what has changed and what customer selections, eligibility determination, and plan pricing changes have impacted the market for the new year. So with us completing the open enrollment report for 2022, we just distributed that. That's now available on our website. We've included not only the 2022 report in this slide, but also the reports from prior years. This is a utility for the committee in case anyone ever wants to dive into these metrics or they want to compare them to prior years. We really just use this as a reference for the future as you guys get deeper into the plan designs and decisions that the committee needs to make for both 2023 and beyond. With that said, what I've done here is I've put together a couple of exhibits similar to prior years, where really the focus is on things that we think the committee is traditionally interested in. It's going to primarily be a focus on plan selection, carrier selection, plan pricing changes, and some of the decision and dynamics that folks make when they're eligible for subsidies, and then the plans that they're actually selecting. So with that said, I know we've got a packed agenda. I'm going to dive right in. Marcin, if you don't mind navigating to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this has been a unique year, especially in comparison to last year. Last year at this time when we met, ARPA was not passed at that point. Some substantial changes. Essentially, the percentage of people who are now qualifying for premium tax credits is now substantially higher. It is about 15 percentage points higher as a total of, or a proportion of the population higher than 2021. In addition to that, the folks that you see in that 16.2% now are comprised of a segment of individuals who are simply not requesting financial assistance or financial help, individuals who have income that's above 8.5%, the contribution rate maximum established by ARPA, or individuals who are not eligible for premium tax credits. That is the smallest portion of that group. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I think we all get we all recognize what ARPA is. Marcin, if you don't mind, if you can navigate to the next slide. What I will do
before you move to the next slide, this is two. Do you have a similar numbers like this, but for 2021?
Yeah, definitely. So the slide I included prior to this one has all of the links for the prior reports. I'm happy we can pull that up now, or we could simply use it as a reference. But slide 8 has every single report that we have available on our site, and you could essentially pull up the 2021 report, and you'll see an exhibit that's exactly the same as what this chart is that shows the premium tax credit, CSR, and non-financial help splits.
Just one question on that. This is Neil Kelsey. When you look back at the prior year, ARP was effective mid-year, right? So in the report from last year, are you looking at APTC and CSR as of open enrollment, or as of the expanded in late in the year?
The report was created last year in 2021 prior to ARPA's passage. So what you will see is the pre-ARPA APTC eligibility determination and rates. So again, that'll be, APTC and APTC CSR would be about 15 percentage points lower. You'd see the non-financial help that was hovering around 27 or 28% last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's substantial differences, and the report that you're viewing from 2021, just keep in mind that wasn't refreshed for the post-ARPA view.
Okay, thank you.
Feel free to interrupt me as I go through these slides. I'm going to continue to move through them, but please feel free to just chime in if you have any questions. Marcin, just one question, one request. Can you just move forward one slide? This slide is slightly misplaced. I think it's better to address the carrier one. So again, 2022, a little bit of a change from a carrier perspective compared to 2021. We now have the introduction of Chi-Chi. The introduction of Chi-Chi, after the 2022 open enrollment period, we found about 5.4% of our enrollment has now enrolled in that Chi-Chi plan. As an overall market share perspective, Anthem's total market share has increased by about 2% across the entire enrollment. So last year, Anthem was at about 22% of total enrollment. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'll pause. If not, we can continue to move forward. Okay. Marcin, if you don't mind, if you can navigate to, yes, thank you, slide 12. So slide 12 breaks out the proportion of enrollment by metal tier by year. Again, a couple of things that are different in 2022. We now have the introduction of the Platinum plan for the first time since 2016. In addition to that, we've had a more established trend up here, which is we now have 3 options at the gold medal tier that are now cheaper than the silver plan. So I believe this happened last year for 1 plan. This year we're seeing it for 3 plans. So this is going to continue, I think, to drive additional enrollment into gold plans. On top of that, again, the introduction of ARPA and its increased subsidies, I think, is leaving additional premium tax credits on the tables where folks can move up metal tiers at a more affordable rate than they did in prior years as well. So just a trend we'll continue to see as we go through each one of these slides. In addition to that, we continue to see a downward trend for the proportion of enrollees and customers that are selecting bronze plans, which I think that may be a good trend, particularly as we try to get consumers into plans that reduce their out-of-pocket exposure. And again, the migration of folks from bronze to silver, silver to gold, or silver to platinum, again, is a function, I think, of increasing subsidies through ARPA. Marcin, if you don't mind, if you can navigate back to the slide we skipped over. There you go. Thank you, sir. We've broken this out as well. In the past, the committee has asked us to show the metal selection and metal tier selection by year, by the categories that individuals are eligible for subsidy. Now, one thing I will say, and again, I think we alluded to this earlier, is the snapshots you see here are obviously before ARPA's passage. So the significant decrease in the folks who are ineligible for subsidy will become apparent here. So we have a significant change in the underlying population who falls into that not subsidy eligible group. So just keep that in mind. As you look through this, you will notice the silver enrollment for the subsidy group is declining slightly. And that's also offset though by them migrating into more gold and platinum plans. And then at the non-subsidy level, enrollment again in bronze plans decreased substantially, and then that was offset by higher enrollment into the silver and gold plans. Again, those are, I think, pricing dynamics that are occurring within the silver and gold plans. Marcin, if you don't mind navigating to slide 13. So slide 13, we've broken this out into a little bit of a further breakout in terms of subsidy eligibility, as well as the metals that are selected. There's been interest that's been expressed in the past from the committee on this one, particularly with how individuals who are higher in the CSR selection tier are selecting metal tiers. So what you'll see here is the CSR tier of 94, 87, and 73 stratified by the metal selection, along with those who are not eligible for CSR and those who are not eligible for premium tax credit. One of the things I will say is we've been excited and eager to share, especially since last year, some of the decision support alerts we've put into our system to help individuals who are eligible for substantial CSR, 94 and 87% in particular. In the event that they're not selecting a silver plan, they forego the benefit of that cost sharing reduction. The challenge becomes for 73% CSR, oftentimes the offset of a premium or the cheaper premium versus the savings they may get from a cost sharing reduction, that becomes a little bit of a finer economic decision where the cost sharing reduction for 87 and 94 starts to become more substantial, and it becomes less apparent on whether that's a decision of, I'll take the premium savings versus getting a little bit of a lower amount for cost sharing reduction. When we look at these percentages, I will caution this, that we're looking at percentages across years, which is dangerous. If you're just comparing percentage to percentage, it may be slightly misleading. What I will say is in 2021, we were very excited because we had released the new decision support guidance that we were putting on our plan selections, and we had decreased the number of 94% and 87% cost sharing reduction eligible individuals who are selecting gold or bronze instead of silver. We had decreased the number of individuals that were making those selections by 56%. In 2022, we further decreased that number year over year by 32%. So we have 912 fewer enrollees that are selecting gold, platinum, or bronze plans when they fall into 94, 87% cost sharing reduction categories. I think what's happening here is when you look at this table and you look at the actual proportions, silver continues to go up year by year for those two categories, but when you're comparing proportions, that can be slightly deceiving when you're comparing a category by category year over year. So let me pause there. I think that's primarily why we've shared this table in the past. I know there's been a lot of interest in how that particular group is making plan decisions or selections, but were there any comments or thoughts from the committee before I continue to move through these slides?
Okay. Yeah, this is Neil. So yeah, very interesting statistics, and thanks for putting this together. It does strike me that, the difference, if you're looking just across the bottom, 21 versus 22, the biggest difference obviously is the change in ARPA, right? The expanded eligibility for subsidies. So that has driven a behavior change, right? Fewer people are using subsidies to purchase bronze. Some of them have migrated to gold, especially in the non-CSR category, right? So they're using those subsidies not to buy down as much as they did in the past. They're using them either to go back to silver if they were in bronze, or buy up to gold. Very interesting. The caveat to this, or the next step though, is if and when ARP subsidies disappear, we may be faced with decisions more like 2019 to 21 than 22. So that's just something we need to keep in mind. The subsidies do drive decisions, and funding and levels of those subsidies are going to have an impact.
Yes, correct, Neil. Thank you for bringing that up. That is something we are obviously monitoring closely. We have high hopes that it'll be continued beyond 2022, but as a reminder for the committee, that is set to expire at the end of this year. Fingers crossed, hopefully there is enough support for that to break that out. It was part of the Build Back Better plan, but we're hoping that there's enough support to break that out into either a separate bill or be able to get something to that effect passed one way or another before the end of the year to extend this benefit.
Yeah, and this is Jill. It's just great to hear the statistics about the decision support really helping people to make, good decisions to use their CSRs to get good coverage. So that's great news.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments on this slide, we can continue moving forward. Okay, so this slide, what we've done is we've broken out each plan that's offered either in 2021 or 2022. The intent here is to provide some data to the committee in terms of which plans, how much enrollment is ending up in each particular plan. This is broken out by metal tier, and there's a color coding here as well to help folks determine which plan. I know I don't know if everyone knows which plan belongs to which carrier, but if you don't know and you need some help on that one, I know I certainly do once in a while. The Connecticut plans are blue. The Chi-Chi plans are the bars that are in green, and then the Anthem plans are the bars that are in orange. As you look through this, just a couple of notes. Just keep in mind it will look like there are some new plans that were added in 2022. It's not necessarily that a new plan was added, it's that some plans actually had their titles change. So some of the CBI plans had the word virtual removed from them. And then some of the Anthem Blue Care plans have added dental to the title. So you'll be able to spot those as you see the enrollment is essentially some number in 2021, and then it goes to 0 or non-existent in 2022. Other than that, nothing too major here. I don't have many other observations to add to this one. We can go to the next slide, Martin, please. Thank you. We've broken this out for the committee one more time here at a little bit of a more detailed breakout. This is again stratified by subsidized and non-subsidized. What we've done is we've taken the top 5 plans on a yearly basis. And this is again, is to help focus attention in the event that we need to focus on a particular popular plan to determine what its benefit is, impact is, or how it's designed. Again, a resource for the committee in the future as we get further into the year. And again, just one other caution. I think I've said this already now several times, but just do keep in mind anytime we're splitting out subsidized and unsubsidized, just recognize the unsubsidized enrollee population is substantially different because of that ARPA. So you will see decreases there. That's mostly shifting because of the removal of the fiscal cliff at 400% FPL. If you can, there you go. Thank you, Marcin. So the next 2 slides that we're about to see break out essentially 2 of the most important variables when determining what the net premium will be for enrollees. That's age of the enrollee and income of the enrollee. So this current slide we're looking at has the average after premium tax credit price of the plan that the enrollee observes at the different FPL bands. So in other words, if someone is at someone falling between the 301 and 400% FPL level, they are on average paying $179 after premium tax credit. Once again, the 400% fiscal federal poverty level cliff has been removed because of ARPA. So you'll now see some additional FPL bands we've included here. And an additional reminder that FPL It's not necessarily as important as it used to be because there's no more cliff. What's more important now is that it's a function of your income. So in other words, the maximum contribution rate is 8.5%. It's a sliding scale across federal poverty level bands, but essentially anyone who has their premium, their second lowest cost premium amount to 8.5% or less of their income will qualify for premium tax credits. In the event that the premium becomes or more than 8.5%. In the event that premium becomes less than 8.5%, that's traditionally the line in which someone will no longer be eligible for a premium tax credit. If we can go to the next slide, Marcin. Thank you. So this is broken out similar to the prior slide. The only difference is we've broken it out by the different eligibility buckets. So no financial help, premium tax credit only, and CSR eligibility. And then that's also broken out by age band. Again, one of the major variables in terms of the pricing, the way you can interpret this is someone who's in the 35 to 44 age band, they're on average paying about $520 per month for their plan if they are not eligible for financial assistance, 244 if they're eligible for premium tax credit, and 29 if they're eligible for premium tax credits and CSRs.
Rob, this is Jill. I have a question about the slide before, because I thought, didn't ARPA make, for very low income people, they have zero premium, $0 premium?
Correct. So yeah, if your question is on the prior slide.
Yeah.
Marcin, if you don't mind navigating to slide 16, thank you. So if the question's, why is it that FPL bands 150 and below aren't $0? It's two factors. The first one, and this is the biggest factor, is there will be individuals in that that have selected that plan to have a non-essential health benefit portion. We can't apply premium tax credit to that. So there are states that have $0 premiums because they've structured their plans so that there is no non-essential health benefit portion, but that's not the case in Connecticut. Additionally, we don't put any kind of restriction on silver plan selection or what plan they select, excuse me. So if everyone selected the second lowest cost silver in this scenario, they would be, it would be lower, but there are individuals that are pouring into this group that could be bronze, they could be not necessarily bronze, but the individuals that are above second lowest cost silver is probably more important. They may drive that above zero or whatever the non-EHB amount is.
Yeah, Rob, this is Neil. There's a third component of it too, which is the non-height abortions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's part of the
part of the essential health benefit, then quote unquote non-essential.
Non-essential health. Yep.
But I think, once Covered Connecticut hits this, which I think is coming in July. So this slide is going to look different next year too, although it's coming in the middle of the year. So I don't know how that works because it's going to take people up to 175.
Yes,
correct.
And it's taking, sorry, Rob, the parents and caretakers who are eligible now.
Yeah.
And then the new group of the adults
single
without
adults.
children. Yep.
Yeah.
In July.
Yeah. Sure.
Sure.
Rob, this is Grant. I have a question. Is there any is there any group of people who are eligible for Medicaid but signing up for this? Their incomes are low, obviously. They're eligible for Medicaid, but they sign up for the exchange.
So if an individual is eligible for Medicaid, they have two options. They can either select the Medicaid plan or they can select a non-subsidized QHB plan. We don't allow, from a system perspective and from a policy perspective, we don't allow someone who's eligible for Husky to pick a subsidized plan. The number of individuals who do select non-subsidized QHB plans, if they are eligible for Husky, is pretty minimal.
Okay, non-subsidized. Okay, so they'd have to pay the full premium. Oh, okay, all right, got it.
Rob, this is Ted. A little quick question on this slide. Would the median look any different from this, which is based on the average?
That's a good question, Ted. I given the amount of controls we have and how many ways we stratify this, my gut tells me it's probably not going to be that much variability because of if this was just broken up across the age bands, let's say, I think there would be quite a bit of variability. We could certainly test that out. Unfortunately, some of the software used to pull some of these graphics, median is actually harder to pull than mean, unfortunately. So that's something we could test out, Ted. Let me get back to you on that one. But I don't, given how we've stratified this, I don't think it'll make that big of a difference because we kind of have tails, or we have bands put around it that should reduce some of the variability you might see.
Right. Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, so the next 3 slides, we're going to focus a little more on the components of the cost of the plan. We've broken out these 3 slides into heat maps. They stratify the amounts by year running across the top. And the next 3 slides will show net premium, the amount of, excuse me, I'm sorry, this is gross premium, the amount of deductible per plan, as well as the MOOP on the plans, or the maximum out of pocket, based on what the enrollees have selected for the year. So as you're looking through this, this is pre-APTC or pre-premium tax credit premiums. The goal here is to kind of see how premiums are changing throughout the years. And again, the darkest section will represent the highest concentration of enrollees. So in other words, about 29.7% of our enrollees are enrolled in a plan with a gross premium that falls between $250 and $500 per member per month. If we go to the next plan, you'll see again, the intent here is as you look year by year, if the concentration is moving to the bottom right, then you know that deductibles are starting to increase throughout the years. Again, the individual deductible amounts for the plans that have been selected are broken out. Again, to use this as an example, 24.7% of the enrollees in 2022 are enrolled in a plan that has a deductible or an individual deductible of between $6,500 and $7,000. You will see there's 8.5% of the enrollees are in a $0 deductible plan. You may be wondering, why is that? Those are the 94% CSR plans in which the individual has a $0 deductible. And to break that out even further, if someone's in an 87% CSR plan, it's the deductible amount takes into account that cost sharing reduction. If we go to the next slide, we've broken this up.
Yeah, Rob, just back on that slide, if I could for a minute, just pointing out that it's a little misleading because not everybody is eligible for the lowest deductible plans, right? To your point, the $0 deductible plans, far less than 100% of the population can actually select that.
Correct. Yeah, you're right, Neil. I mean, I think what we wanted to show was if someone were to have the question of, well, tell me how many of our current enrollees have a deductible that's less than $500 or $1,000. Our intent with this is to kind of convey that. So the intent here is to essentially, if we were trying to accumulate that or trying to create an amount around that, this should serve that purpose in terms of what folks have actually selected.
Yeah, no, and it does a nice job of that. So,
thank you. The next slide, we've done the same thing. The only thing we've done is we've broken out the maximum out-of-pocket amounts. So you can, again, I'll spare walking the group through how it's constructed. I think it's kind of self-evident. You'll continue to see the concentration of the maximum out-of-pocket amount and the values of them. A lot of them might be alignment of plans. You can see there's some common maximum out-of-pocket amounts that are starting to appear here, especially between 2021 and 2022. It's the concentration, they start to fall between the actual MOOP amounts. 52% of enrollees falling between $8,500 and $9,000 for a maximum out-of-pocket for an individual. The next slide. All right, the next slide is essentially just an overall view, just to remind the committee of what we are looking at in terms of a total market premium and premium tax credit amount. Here you'll see each individual carrier and what at the end of open enrollment, our annualized premium and premium tax credit projection is. This is just a reminder, this is the best case scenario. Our enrollment is always highest right at the end of open enrollment. And then as the year progresses, we start to have enrollment. Traditionally, enrollment starts to decrease because folks are either going to be terminated for non-payment of premium. They may lose premium subsidy if they don't complete their verification requirements. But this year has been a monumental year in the sense that, for better or for worse, we've broken the 1 billion mark for total premium in the market. So I'll pause there if anyone has any questions. The only thing I'll just clarify is you can see in this chart, the orange bars represent what the premium tax credit amount is, while the blue, the blue portion is the premium tax credit amount. The orange is the total premium with the premium tax credit added. So let me pause there in case there's any questions. If there are no questions, the only thing I'm sorry, my apologies.
Sorry,
Jill,
it's Jill. I mean, how much of this is volume and how much of this is price, or it's probably a little bit of both? I'm sure
I
it's
think it's a little
both.
bit of, yeah, it's certainly a little bit of both.
Yeah. That's impressive. $1 billion. Woo, big market.
Rob, this is Ted. Just can you refresh my recollection on what the term unearned premium, the unearned part of it?
Yeah. What's meant by this, Ted, is we are projecting out premiums for the rest of the year. So those aren't necessarily experienced. So to my comment earlier about how this is essentially the highest point, the intent here was to just try to clarify to folks, like, this isn't the premium that's provided by CMS. This isn't the premium that's accounted for at the end of the year. So it's very much a projection. With that said, I'll just remind the committee, I'm always here for questions. If there's any kind of custom metrics or any custom analysis you guys need to help you in your activities, please feel free to reach out. We're here to help.
Good afternoon. I am Kelly Cody, and I'm going to be presenting the certification requirements. We had gone over this slide during our January meeting, but we will continue to discuss or continue our discussions on the development and possible finalization of the 2023 standardized plans using the information that's provided by Wakely, which is within this presentation. Martian, if you could advance to the next slide. Before we go through and start to talk about those benefit changes, we do have a few follow-up items that we wanted to address before getting into those topics. So one of them was there were some discussions surrounding how other states may approach standard versus non-standard plan offerings in the marketplace. Access Health was able to obtain information from the National Academy of State Health and Policy, also referred to as NASHP, which is a little bit easier to say. So just to go over some of that information, on the left, it identifies the 10 states that offer or have standard plan requirements, Connecticut obviously being one of them, and Colorado just joining that list for the 2023 plan year. On the right side of the screen, it identifies the 6 states that actually have limits on how many non-standard plans can be offered by an issuer or carrier. California does not allow any non-standard plans. Connecticut has a limit on how many non-standard plans can be offered at the metal level, and we also do not allow the offering of non-standard silver plans. Massachusetts has very similar limits to Connecticut, and Maine, New York, and Oregon, they do have limits on how many plans can be offered at the metal level. In addition to the plan requirements, we also had some discussions on how many issuers could participate by state. So Martian, if you could forward to the next slide. This information is provided by, and the links are actually below, through KFF. This obviously displays all 50 states. Highlighted in yellow are the state-based marketplaces. And so what it does is it breaks down for you how many insureds or carriers are offered at the state level. Now, there's a couple things that you do need to keep in mind when you're looking at this information. One is the issuers are grouped by parent company. So it's not going to give you where there's instances of separate entities. In some states, carriers also are permitted to provide a product in specific counties. And so that may also impact the amount of or the list of carriers. So the state may have a larger number of carriers, but they do not offer plans in all of the counties. Unlike Connecticut, where we do require that the carriers offer in all counties. We were also able to gather some information separately on the licensed entities that are participating in SBMs. So as an example, in Massachusetts, Tufts has 2 separate licensed entities offering plans through Connector. And in Colorado, at one point, they did have separately licensed entities from one parent carrier, but they have, that was in the past. I don't believe that that's in present day. So I hope you find this information helpful, and hopefully we've addressed some of the questions that were asked in the previous meetings.
Yeah, thank you. This is Neil, and that slide was actually pretty sobering to me to see the fact that Connecticut, yeah, who likes to think of themselves as the insurance capital and creative and everything, has only 2 carriers in this slide. Pretty low number relative to the rest of the country.
Absolutely. And I think one of the last follow-ups was a request that when the open enrollment membership was available, that when we put an exhibit together displaying by plan name, we were also asked to include the actuarial value. So Marcin, if you could advance to slide 103 for a moment. It's the very last slide. Sorry, I didn't realize you didn't have an easy way to get there. It is in the appendix. And what we did was we put a slide together. I hope all of you find it helpful. Keep going, almost there. I think it's exhibit 22. And it's not, oh, can you go back one? There it is. This is the slide that we put together. It lists by carrier, the plan name, as I indicated. There is some color coding here, so it helps you identify the meta levels. So this sheet, while kind of small, I'm struggling to see it on my screen as well, but if you have time to take a look at it, it is sorted by meta level and then by the membership or the enrollment number, just so that you understand how the information has been put there. And one other, I just wanted to make a comment that slides 95 to 102 have all been updated to reflect 2022 information. So these are previous slides that have been shared in the past. I don't think necessarily we go over them, but it's in there for reference should you have questions on where some of the eligibility may have fallen by tier, breaking it out, the bronze or the HSA plan information as well. And that will conclude my portion of the presentation. We can move
Kelly,
on to.
Kelly,
Yes,
hi,
sir.
this is Grant again. the way I'm reading this, the gold plans have actuarial values that are sometimes in the 70s, pretty low in the 70s, 76 and such. How is that possible? I thought they had to be 80 with plus or minus 2. Is this because old pricing or something?
No, it's
Uh,
-4 right now.
Yeah,
They can go for 2022. It can be 76 to 82.
76 to 82. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. It's 2 plus. But
Yeah,
minus.
that's just for
minus
22, right? That changes in 23.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's proposed to change.
Okay. That's great.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, this is Julie Andrews with Wakely. I guess I'll go ahead and just start presenting, Marcin, as you work your way back to slide 28 with our agenda. So today we're just going to go over a few of the follow-up items from January 11th, as well as start presenting the proposed plan design changes that will be necessary for 2023. The first item is that as of today, there are no updates to the proposed regulations or the draft federal AV calculator at this time. So also, since the AV calculator is in draft form, that any plans that are evaluated today may be subject to further modifications if the future or if the final AV calculator differs from the projected version. So let's go on to the next slide. Well, let's go on to the next one where we're going to talk about cost of care. This was a follow-up item with regards to request for the AVs. Kelly went over this just a minute ago, but yeah, comparing the non-standard AVs to the standard AVs. And as you noted, Grant, the non-standard plans will have to be modified for 2023 if the proposed AV minimus ranges are finalized to comply with that -2 range. The bronze plans at 64.2 to 65% are very similar to the standard plan designs. On the next slide, we're going to start going into the cost of care. This is a graphical version of data that I've provided in the past. It represents the amount of out-of-pocket cost sharing experienced by members during the 2019 benefit year in the Northeast region based on Wakely's proprietary database, where we've collected edge server submissions from several different companies throughout the Northeast region. The first grouping of individuals, about 50% of all enrollees in a silver plan had out-of-pocket cost sharing for the year of $500 or less. And about 10% of individuals, or 1 in 10, in any metal plan had no out-of-pocket cost sharing. And while not shown, less than 10% of enrollees hit their maximum out-of-pocket during the 2019 benefit year. On the next slide is just a distribution of the mix of silver health care cost sharing spend in total. So enrollee cost sharing, as well as the insurer's portion of the cost sharing underlying the proposed federal AV calculator. So the draft 2023 AV calculator is based on 2018 individual and small group claims from a national claims database that's been projected to 2023 plan year. So the total dollars spent on drugs reflect 20% of all costs, with the next higher cost bucket being represented by individual services at 20%. When thinking about what drives the dollars in each service category, one must also consider the frequency of each service as well as the average cost of the service. So while drugs are 26%, they represent a higher frequency with a lower average cost, and inpatient services are a lower frequency but a higher average cost claim. The next slide provides just a breakout by the drug category, by the type of service. So generic drugs represent 18% of total services in the royal blue grouping, and the largest grouping, the preferred drugs, is in the brighter blue at almost 48%, and then the specialty drugs at 29% in the orange. So just, thinking about that number of services versus average cost, generic drugs, individuals on average have 9 scripts per year added in a generic, and they average about $35, while the preferred is about 1.5 scripts on average per year per member, but the average cost is about $560. Does anybody have any questions? All right, well then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brad, who will take us through the proposed plan revisions for 2023.
Great, thank you, Julie. Now, just as a quick aside, as we saw on the previous slide, the plans that we're going to cover today, or the different options at the metal levels, they have been reviewed by the carriers for both AV compliance and mental health parity. So we have that in mind as we go into looking at the different options that we're going to propose. Now, the current slide that we have here, this is not a new slide. We presented on this at the last presentation, but wanted to include it again to emphasize that with the changes to the calculator, we will have to make changes to all of the standard plans except for the bronze HSA plan. As we can see down at the bottom, with the new 2023 draft AV calculator, the AVs were changed, or there was an impact of a given range for each of these metals. For the silver standard and the 73%, we see that it was a much bigger increase of about 2% to those AVs. So while we have options for all these metals, silver will be the most impacted with the bigger changes as we start looking at that. Next slide, please. Again, real quick, the plan options that we have are only showing the in-network services that are within the AV calculator. Here we show other in-network services that are not included in the AV calculator, but would still be part of the standardized plan. I won't walk through them, but we wanted to include them here just to make mention that there are other services outside of what we will be showing. Next slide. Similar story, few additional notes that we're only showing in-network cost sharing where applicable, and the deductible and MOOP are for individuals. The family limit will be twice what the deductible and MOOP limits are shown. Additional notes and caveats, but really the main point here, what we see with our fun sunglasses image there, is that new for 2023 is a pediatric vision benefit. This is eyeglasses and contacts that must be covered out of network at 50% coinsurance after deductible. We don't have this included on the next slides because this does not impact an AV calculation and is not going to be part of that regulatory review for AVs, but wanted to further note it here.
Is that a federal new requirement or a state new requirement?
Yeah, and I'd have to ask Julie on that one. Is that federal or state?
Yeah, that was a state clarification that those be covered, unless, is my understanding, unless Susan has further information.
Yes, we received information from the insurance department that as long as the plan has out-of-network coverage, that it couldn't exclude the coverage for those items out of network. So it has to be at the co-insurance amount for the plan.
Perfect.
Thank you.
We could jump to next slide. So here we'll start looking at the different options that we have at each metal level. Again, this is very similar to what we've done in prior years. What we have done here, though, we have highlighted the different benefits that will be changed under each option. And I wanted to note that these benefit changes are in reference to the feedback that we had in the prior conversation in the prior meeting, where we got feedback on touching the MOOP or deductible or the different benefits for each of these options. So what we see here is for the Gold Plan AV plan, we have an option 1 with an increase to the MOOP of $5,250 up to $6,000. So about a $750 increase to the MOOP, with the rest of the benefits held constant. And option 2, holding the MOOP constant with an increase of about $700 to the in-network deductible for medical services and $50 increase up to $100 for the RX deductible. Again, this is incorporating the feedback that we had as part of the prior meeting. And what we've included down at the bottom is really the plans we're testing and what the results like, and they fall within that. To Julie's point earlier, if there are any changes to the final 2020 calculator, there could potentially need to be changes for these options as well.
I think, yeah, I want to ask people to weigh in their preference. We might have a vote on this if we have if people are to choose between these two options. We can make a recommendation to the board. So does anybody want to start the ball rolling by commenting on which of these two options they might prefer? I know you don't want either one of them, but which one seems the worst?
Do we have to make a motion to begin the discussion?
No, you can
No,
just
I
begin
guess you have
the,
to
no,
discuss
you can
and
just
make a
begin the
motion.
discussion, yep, and then
all right.
if the committee wants to pick one, then make the motions.
Could you just explain, this is Jill, could you just explain, I'm just looking at the bottom line there. What is the red? It has to fall, oh, that was what it was last time, was
Yes.
82
Yes.
to
We
83.
can't keep what was before.
Okay.
Yeah, we're over.
Yep.
We're over.
So, and we have to stay under 82, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
And last year we could stay under 84.
No, the red is with the plan run through the updated 2023 calculator, Jill. The red line, that's
okay, so
what
that
all the
shows why
testing
we have to
showed.
cut it. It
Why
shows
we have to cut it, yep.
Exactly.
And above
Okay.
it, in the black is
thank
where
you.
the plans fell and for 2022. Where
Okay, I just wanted to make
each
sure I
carrier's-
understood it.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I guess you had a previous slide that said most people never reach the MOOP. I mean, it was only about 10%. I'm leaning towards option 1, I think, but I could be argued out of it if someone is favoring option 2.
This is Paul Lombardo. I tend to incline to agree with Jill, just the fact that when you raise an in-network deductible for RX, I think that raises red flags. To be really frank with you, I think you want people to get and remain and have access to their prescription drugs.
I agree with that.
Does anybody else want to?
I agree with
Comment?
that as well.
Yeah.
This is Mark.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's aligned with my thinking too, Grant. This is Ted.
Yeah. Great. Oh, well, I think we have a winner then. Can somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion to for the
Recommend to the
proposed
board.
plan
Yep.
change in option 1, recommended in option 1.
I'll second it. This
Okay.
is Jill.
Thank you. Any other comment before we vote? If not, Martha, would you like to take the roll call? The vote? I'm sorry, a vote?
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Lab is after the deductible. Didn't we move lab before the deductible? Maybe we only did that in silver.
Gold was one of the only plans that we weren't able to. So
Okay.
but you'll see on future slides that all other metals, we were able to do that. Gold just fell outside of the range when we tried to
Okay, and
do
I
it
mean, at
last year.
least the deductible is relatively low, but I guess that's how they'll reach it.
Right.
Okay, sorry, that's my little crusade. I have to get off my
Yeah.
horse, I guess.
Oh, yeah,
Bye.
no, it's okay. I understand.
Yeah, Grant, before we vote, just
Uh,
one thought. Should we hold the vote until after we've seen all the plan designs? I just want to, I'm not concerned necessarily about the gold, but as we get into the others, just to make sure that there's some consistency in the decisions across, and we don't end up with a higher deductible in a silver plan than on a gold or than on a bronze plan, for example.
I'll defer to Susan on that. What do you think, Susan? You have it sort of.
Yeah,
by-
that's fine if that's what the committee prefers to do. You know, you have your motion and you can just hold the vote if you want to and
Okay.
get through the rest of the plans and do the vote that way. That's
Well,
absolutely
right.
fine.
I think I still like to have a discussion, Neil, but maybe once we
Yeah.
see another one, we'll back off the first one and reconsider it. Okay, but let's just do gold though, because it's not as big a problem. And then we'll do all the silvers together at least, maybe the silver and the bronze.
Well, but I think what Neil was saying is that we want to make sure there's some consistency.
Yeah, we're not gonna we're not gonna be inconsistent between silver and gold is so much lower than anything else. All right. If you want, we can hold off all the votes. Let's move on then and go to the silver 70%. Brad.
Yep, yeah, and we had a possible vote slide there, but we'll definitely move forward with
we'll put it off. Yeah.
silver. Absolutely. So similar story. What we see here are two different options for the silver plan, 70% AV. So this is your standard silver non-CSR plan. Again, the bottom row, what we're showing is the red is indicating what the 2023 AV calculator was showing. This is the plan that had the bigger change. We see that 2 to 2.5% change, requiring more changes made to the plan or greater emphasis on the changes there. So the two options we have option 1, which has a $700 increase to the deductible, just a medical deductible. That's moving from $4,300 to $5,000, and an out-of-pocket increase up to the $9,100. And correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, but that is at the maximum out-of-pocket for the federal maximum out-of-pocket max.
That is correct.
Okay. Option 2 would not include the increase to the maximum out of pocket, but would have a larger medical deductible increase up to $5,500 and an RX deductible increase of $50 up to $300. So option 1 again will be more heavily weighted towards the MOOP as we saw on the gold plan options, and option 2 will be more weighted on the deductible piece with a hit to the RX deductible. And I will turn it over for discussion if we want to discuss those two.
Yeah, I think to me, it's the same as gold, right? Option 1, adjusts the out-of-pocket more than the deductible and leaves the RX deductible alone.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else?
What can
Yeah,
you
I
say?
agree with you.
It's rough. Yeah, I mean, it's a rough, two bad choices, but because that's a pretty big increase in the deductible, but it's still better than option 2, which is an even bigger increase in the deductible.
Yeah, I agree. It is.
Christine?
It's hard to feel good about it, but I'm more in support of option 1.
And at least the co-pays
Okay.
aren't changing.
Yeah, I think we're beginning to see a pattern here. So, okay, let's move on to the next one. I think we have a strong.
But I think we'll need to make a motion just
I think, Martin, they want to get through all the options and
Okay.
then they'll go back and make the other motions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. We can skip forward to the 73%. Perfect. Now, as I had mentioned at the beginning, with the change in the underlying data to the calculator causing such a big difference, one of those was the 73%, which was about a 2 and a 2.5% change to the AV. With the options that we had the carriers test, there was only one option that both carriers were able to test and come back as passing for both AV compliance and mental health parity. And what we see with this option is an increase in the medical deductible up to $4,550 and an increase of the maximum out of pocket up to $7,250. And again, Julie, I believe that $7,250 is the maximum for the 73%. Is that correct?
Yes,
No.
that is the maximum
Yeah.
proposed.
Okay. I do kind of wonder, what do the other states do? I mean, they don't have a sophisticated benefit design as we do. Do they still make this? I mean, or do they just ignore the 73%?
Well, I think we saw on the
Well,
other
you can't
slide, I guess
ignore it.
the other states with the standard plans, you know, are up against the same challenges with the AV and parity.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about. There's one option, so.
Yeah, no, there's not much to talk about. I agree. But thank you for finding something that
I
threads the
mean,
needle.
this is a group of people that really need more help than they're getting from this plan, but that's just the way it is. Like this CSR is, barely helps people. I mean, it's a little bit of help, but it's not much help.
Yeah, no, it's almost a 70%. Okay. Next one.
Okay. Now for the 87%, we jump to having two different options. This was less of the 87% had less of an impact than what we saw on the 73% and the 70%, but it still requires a different change. A similar story we see here. Option 1 is an increase in the maximum out of pocket up to $3,250 with keeping both deductibles the same. And option 2 is a $175 increase on the medical deductible only, with holding the RX deductible constant. I'll open up for discussion here.
Seems to be a pattern, option 1.
Yep. Brad, is the 3250, is this the correct plan? I apologize, because I think the maximum allowable is 3,000.
Oh.
I will double check that.
I'll look at that. Just want to make sure.
We're not approving the wrong thing.
Yeah, we had gone back and forth on this one, so I apologize.
And do we want to take that offline, Julie?
Yeah, let's take that
look at it?
offline.
Okay.
And
I just have a question about like where we're headed. Like maybe we'll get away with it this year and then next year. Because have we always been at the top of the MOOP, or is this kind of we're really headed there for everything now with it being at the top of the MOOP, and then we're going to run out of options next year, or it isn't necessarily like that?
What I've seen historically is there last year, there were no changes to AV calculator, so we didn't have to make adjustments to the MOOP. Prior years, gold or silver had very minimal changes, but bronze had a bigger change, which is exact opposite of what we saw here. So it really does vary year by year of what kind of an impact it'll have and where we need to set that MOOP. But I will say, Julie and I, we work in a few other states as well, and it's a similar trend of with the adjustments to the AV calculator, more traditionally people will take a look at the MOOP. Especially with the points that Julie was making of the members that are actually hitting that MOOP, where deductible is going to be more affecting people. Co-pays people understand more as well, but it's very typical of kind of keeping the higher MOOP from what we've seen.
And the calculator is still a draft form, right?
Yes.
Do you know when they expect to publish the final calculator? And do you anticipate any changes based on what you're seeing in other states?
Yeah, Julie,
Jill,
I don't know. Sorry.
Jill, if the outcry was great enough during the comment period, if everybody came back and said, we can't do it, we just physically can't do it, they probably could change when they finalize it.
So Julie, did you figure out if there's a problem with this one? Or we're just going to do it later?
Yes, I'm still looking at the grid. So if we want to go ahead and move to the 94% plan, apologize, I'm still looking into it.
So the requirement, actually 3,000 is correct as Julie stated.
Yep.
So then we'll have to do something else bad to that one.
Yeah, probably.
Looks like we'll have
bump-
to do a
bump
little
the
of both.
deductible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to raise the medical deduction somewhat. Yeah.
Yep. Moving on to 94%. This was another option where we had a few different options and only one came back as being compliant with both AV and mental health parity testing. It is a simple adjustment since not much was needed of about $50 to the out-of-pocket maximum.
That's
That's
a
good.
relief.
Yes, it is a relief, especially for these people. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Perfect. The last plan needing changes is the bronze non-HSA. Again, we have two different options with an adjustment to the maximum out of pocket. There's a $100 change under option 1 to the maximum out of pocket, or a $200 deductible change for option 2. Again, following in the same order, option 1 is a MOOP impact, option 2 is deductible.
Option 1 wins again.
Yes, following our previous pattern, option 1 seems to be would be the preferred. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we don't, I mean, do you want to show the HSA? There's no change to it. But
Yeah, we have a slide on the, yeah, we included this to essentially say it's been tested with the new calculator. Both plans, or all three carriers, were able to test and came back passing. So no changes are required, but also just wanted to leave it on the table if any changes were wanted. But here it is, essentially.
And then Grant, we would just have a vote if the committee is fine with keeping this plan the same, just so
Yeah,
that we have
okay.
the vote that
Well,
this is the plan
right.
for 2023.
20, yes, we'll recommend this one, right?
Yeah, and just
Okay,
remember with the diabetes changes, this one was really tight last year to get it compliant with the state diabetes caps as well.
Right. So let's go back up to the goal plan. And Susan, we had a motion. Is that still on the table, or should we remove?
It would probably be good just to, if you just want to repeat it, Grant, so that everyone,
Yeah.
so it's clear what we're voting on.
Yes. For the goal plan, it was moved and seconded that we adopt, or we make the recommendation of option 1 to take to the board to accept as our goal plan for 2023. And is that the way everybody? Does anybody see it different? If not, let's have a vote.
Do we have to move it again and
Bill?
second it again? I don't remember.
I think we already have the
Yeah.
motion and the second. It was just to
Okay.
repeat so everyone knows, and then
Okay.
Martin can call the roll.
Graham Rader,
Okay. Yes. Aye.
Peter Doolittle,
Aye.
Mark Schaefer, Matthew Brockman.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, getting off mute.
Okay,
Aye.
Mark Schaefer. Okay, thank you. John Goin,
Aye.
Neil Kelsey,
Yes.
Alan Skinner, Jill Zorn,
Aye.
Manisha Jutani. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry. Yes, the motion passes. Let's now, can I have a motion to accept option 1 on the silver 70%, which is to raise the out of pocket, but also unfortunately needs to raise the medical deduction a bit also.
Ted Doolittle moves for option 1 on the silver plan, 70% AV.
Yeah, option 1. The second?
This is
Second.
2.
Okay, thanks. Any comments? Let's vote on this then.
Graham Rader,
Yes.
Peter Doolittle,
Aye.
Mark Schaefer,
Aye. Aye.
Matthew Brackman,
Aye.
June Goin,
Yes.
Neil Kelsey,
Approve.
Alan Skinner, Jill Zorn,
Aye.
Manish Jutani. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, moving right along. Next, we're going to let's kind of have a motion to accept option one, the only option. Option one on 73% silver plan.
This is Jill, so moved.
Ted Doolittle,
Thanks.
second.
All right. Can we have the vote?
Frank Ritter,
Yes.
Peter Doolittle,
Aye.
Mark Schaefer,
Aye.
Matthew Brackman,
Aye.
thank you. June Goin,
Aye.
Neil Kelsey,
Aye.
Alan Skinner, Jill Zorn,
Aye.
Manish Jutani. Thank you.
Okay. Now I don't know what to do with the next one, Susan. I mean, I could sort of make a motion that we
Right. So this is
modify
Grant.
the silver plan.
So Grant, this is
Yes.
Julie. So
Julie.
option 2 is a correct plan. Option 1 is not a valid plan. We cannot have
Yes,
a
I know.
maximum out of
Yeah.
pocket. So either we can approve option 2, or as a takeaway, we can create another option where we would increase the MOOP to $3,000. That would then bring like the option 2 deductible down to somewhere between the current $650 and $825 that we
Yeah,
could.
but you don't know
have,
the exact amount, but yeah. Okay.
No.
So
So,
should we, yeah,
yeah,
because
should
I
we-
think we'd
should
rather
we
do
wait,
that,
or-
but we just don't know what it is.
Well, we can sort of assume, we can almost interpolate it to be
Right. Somewhere in between.
halfway, somewhere about halfway. So I would guess it's about 750.
So can we do a motion like that says that the MOOP will be 3,000 and with the, I don't know how you want to do it, or do we have to wait a month, or how do you want to do it?
So a couple of ideas. We could either make a motion to set the MOOP at 3,000 and accept whatever whatever deductible gets it within the range.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, we could make a motion to have Wakely go back, test with the carriers at 3,000 MOOP and whatever deductible, and then maybe do a submit to the committee and a vote through a doodle poll or whatever we use. So we don't have to meet again necessarily, but we'd have a vote, that way.
Yeah, we can do a vote in writing. So if we do it that way, Neil, and
Okay.
it
All right,
comes out
let's
and
put
the
this off.
carriers test,
Yeah.
we could always
Okay.
just do that in writing and not have to have a meeting for that one vote.
Okay. So let's put this off. We'll have a vote by doodle poll, the 87% silver plan. It will be $3,000. Well, I mean, yeah, the motion, we're all pretty clear, will be the $3,000, and the medical deduction will have to go up somewhere around $750. That'll be the near what it is.
Or maybe
ballpark,
we
yeah.
can just vote on it, because like we know we want 3,000 MOOP, unless you think could fail. We know we want 3,000 MOOP, and I guess just by virtue of the math, the deductible is
Yeah.
going to be somewhere in between, and we're
Yeah.
comfortable with that, unless the actuaries are worried like it won't work
Mhm.
for mental health parity.
With
Do you want to
these
make that
type,
motion?
yeah,
Yeah.
Jill, with these type of changes, I wouldn't anticipate any issues with parity testing, and obviously we would be solving for the
Well,
appropriate amount to hit the IV.
Right. You would warn us if, I mean, you'd have to test it again, obviously, once you figure out the number.
So
But-
I feel comfortable voting on something like when we don't know the exact deductible, but we have a pretty good idea where it's going to be, and we know what the MOOP is. I mean, I feel comfortable voting on that, but I don't know.
Wait, okay.
So Jill, man, would you accept the $3,000 MOOP and we for not to exceed
Not to,
deductible amount?
Not to exceed
not to
825.
exceed,
Yeah, would that be helpful in terms of making the voters?
Yeah, I think we have to do it that way,
Or
actually.
Yeah.
you can
I prefer
choose,
to
James,
do this.
Would that
but-
be
Yeah.
satisfactory for the committee? $3,000 move in a not to exceed amount of.
Okay, that's the motion. Okay,
Good
not
motion.
to exceed 825. All right. We know it won't.
That way,
Yeah.
if it goes over that, or if it goes over that, then we have to come back to the committee.
Well,
After
in terms of crafting the motion, I would want to specify $3,000 MOOP and the lowest possible compliant medical
Ah.
deductible.
That's good.
and not to touch the prescription deductible, correct?
Yeah,
Right.
right. Yeah.
Right.
Leave
Medical
that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Jill and
That's a
Ted,
good motion.
who seconds? Who made the motion? Who seconds?
Ted made it, so I'll second it.
All right. Okay. So the motion is to have a $3,000 out of pocket and
No,
to
MOOP,
have
yeah.
the medical MOOP on.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. And the lowest possible medical deduction that would allow us to meet the AV 87% requirement. So let's have a vote.
Graham Rader,
Yes.
Peter Doolittle,
Aye.
Mark Schaefer,
Aye.
Matthew Brackman,
Aye.
Ungoin,
Yes.
Neil Kelsey,
No, just because I think it's cleaner to vote on the final plan design.
Ellen Skinner, Jill Zorn,
Aye.
and Manish Jutani. Thank you.
And
All right,
Wakely will go back, sorry, Grant, Wakely will go back and do testing with the, with all the carriers on that option. So we'll let everybody know.
Yeah, and remember, if they change the actuarial calculator, we might have to go back and do this all over again. No. Okay. Let's have a motion to adopt the silver plan, the one option that's available, the silver plan, 94%.
So moved.
Second.
Or that was
Okay.
Jill or whichever.
Yeah.
Who seconded the
All right.
motion? I'm sorry.
Is it
I
Mark?
think might have been Neil, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yes, it was
Oh, okay.
Mark.
Okay.
Oh, Mark, sorry.
Mark.
Hey,
Okay.
Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jill.
Okay. Motion to adopt option one on the 94% silver plan. Let's have a vote. Martin?
Graham Rader,
Yes.
Peter Doolittle,
Aye.
Mark Schaefer,
Aye.
Matthew Brackman,
Aye.
Ungoin,
Aye.
Neil Kelsey,
Yes.
Ellen Skinner, Jill Zorn,
Aye.
and Manish Jutani. Thank you.
Okay. Now we go to the bronze plan. We have a motion on the bronze non-HSA plan.
So moved. This is Jill.
Oh, no, you have to pick the option.
Oh, sorry. Option one. It was option one, right?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
It is. It is. Yes.
I move for option one. I nominate option
Okay.
one.
Is there a second?
This is Ted, I'll second.
Okay, thanks. Can we have a vote on that? Again,
Ron
this
Ritter?
is to raise, yes.
Peter Doolittle,
Aye.
Mark Schaefer,
Aye.
Matthew Brackman,
Aye.
Ungoin,
Aye.
Neil Kelsey,
Aye.
Ellen Skinner, Jill Zorn,
Aye.
Manish Jutani. Thank you.
Okay, and finally, let's have a motion to adopt the existing bronze HSA plan with no changes.
Is there a motion?
Ted,
Thank you. Second?
Jill, I second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's have a vote.
Graham Rader,
Yes.
Peter Doolittle,
aye.
Mark Schaefer,
Aye.
Matthew Brackman,
Aye.
Ungoin,
Aye.
Neil Kelsey,
Yes.
Ellen Skinner, Jill Zorn,
Aye.
and Manish Dutani. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That's the main business item that we needed to handle today. In closing, I'd like to turn it over to Charmaine to talk a little bit about the timeline moving forward. Charmaine, is she? Hello?
Charmaine?
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Okay, so currently we are still waiting on the HHS to release the final MBP containing the MOOP and the information as well as the AVC. We anticipate we will hear in time so that we can present the final standard plans that we just voted on to the waiting on the 94 AV silver plan in time for the board in April. So we will track, we are still on track to release the QHP and SADP solicitation in April and the application in mid to late May.
Fingers crossed. Okay.
Yes. So hopefully we have no changes and we could just go with our votes. If not, we will have to retest and bring those to the board, to you guys to look at again.
Martin, if you could keep going on the slides. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. We got next.
Okay.
Thank you. Now turn it over to Susan to talk about the next steps.
Yep. Thank you, Grant, and thank you, everybody. Yeah, so Charmaine mentioned we have the meetings for March on the calendar still. We'll just keep them on the calendar as a placeholder for now, just in case. But assuming that we are good on the 87% plan and no surprises come out from HHS, we should be in good shape to recommend these plan designs to the board in April. So our next steps are for Wakely to go back and create the alternative plan at the 87% for the silver CSR plan, and then we'll work with the carriers to do the testing for AV and mental health parity. And then assuming that we're all good, we will be all set to make recommendations to the board in April. So thank you, everybody. That's really terrific work to get to this place.
Okay. Thank you. Busy meeting. I think I can have a motion to adjourn.
Grant, this is Neil.
Oh,
just
Neil?
before we
Yeah, go
adjourn.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, because we do have some time now. At the beginning of the meeting, you mentioned some implications of having more than 2 carriers on the exchange and sending that to the strategy committee to talk about. Can you give us some more background on that?
Well, it's just we were really charged at this particular committee to look into qualification and benefits, and it just seemed that strategy committee should really get involved with any of the implications of having more than 2 carriers. It doesn't mean that anything's going to come of it. I mean, there's a lot of states that have 5, 6, or 7 carriers, and they're handling it all right. I think we just want to review, what the implications are. And it's the strategy committee is really the right committee to be.
Okay, so we're not sending them any recommendations or any talking points.
No, absolutely not. No, we just think it's their sort of issue, not ours, not in quality and benefits. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because we did have a robust discussion about that at the last meeting, and I just want to make sure that
yes.
Before that this committee doesn't do anything without all of us hearing it. No.
Oh yeah, no, we're not. No, this committee is not going to do anything recommendation-wise, except mention it to the strategy. It did come up, and I think they already know it did come up.
I do have a question about something that was presented much earlier in the meeting before we got to our big job of certifying recommending the plans, which was about
Yes.
the number of plans in each tier. I mean, I think we got a report from Kelly, I think, about I don't remember what slide number it was, the number of plans in each tier, especially like we know what it is in silver, but I still don't really know what our limits are in gold and in the issues are how many choices to have in gold and bronze, basically, and bronze is more complicated too because you have HSA, but also do we have any requirements about how much of a difference in AV there has to, if one carrier, say, is allowed to offer 3 plans in gold, which I think that might be what it is right now, is there any kind of requirement to make sure that each one of those 3 plans is different enough from each other so that it's offering a meaningful choice? So I don't feel like we quite got to that, and I don't know if that's this committee thing or another committee thing, but
Yeah, let's see, qualifications that might be from a qualification standpoint. It could be, but we certainly don't want to discuss it.
Not right now.
Not
We
right
don't
now,
have
yeah.
to. But I just didn't want to let go of that as
Yeah.
that was part of why it was raised.
Right. We could go back and ask probably somebody in the exchange to look at our current, because we used to show a slide that showed what the number of non-standard plans was allowed. We used to show that. I don't know whether it's 3 or 2. I don't remember. I know we only allow one plan silver. No, and
Yeah.
that was. But we can bring that slide back up. I know that there's no requirement that the plans be that much different from each other. Except why would we sort of assume that the carriers wouldn't create extra paperwork for themselves by doing that. But there's no requirement about the AV being different or anything like that.
Yeah,
Right, we permit a certain number at each metal tier other than silver. And I think,
Yeah.
Kelly, I don't know if anyone remembers, it's probably in the appendix somewhere. I
It
think
is.
at most tiers it's 3, but I think one of them may be 2. I may be incorrect.
Yeah, if Marcin, if you go into the appendix, and I'm trying to get, it's slide number 77, or it's also labeled as Exhibit 6, that identifies by standard and non-standard what
There it
our
is. Okay.
maximums are.
Yeah, I think I agree with the comments that Grant talking about earlier. Carriers are not going to create 2 similar plans because they're too close. They don't pick up additional membership or anything like that. So automatically carriers would try to differentiate different gold plan.
Because eventually we find out what the AVs are of those other, but we probably don't even find out till after open enrollment's over. I forget what happens for when the non-standard plans get submitted. Since we don't approve them, they just happen.
Oh, they have to meet qualifications. They have to
Yeah,
meet
the
AV
insurance
calculus.
department approves them, so that the
Okay.
insurance department would be approving the AV.
Okay, so that's what I thought it was, 3 and 3. That's kind of what I thought it was in gold and bronze.
Right.
So that means there's 4 total. One's the standard. Looks like most people are enrolling in the standards anyway, for the most part. And then bronze has 2 because of HSA.
And I think, Jill, the bronze plan, I think we have 2 alternative bronze plans and 1 non-standard HSA, or I may have that backwards. But we don't have 3 non-HSA. It's only 1 or 2, and the other are HSA.
Okay. So
and then there's the 2 optional, the platinum plan, since we no longer have a standard plan design at platinum, it's 2 optional platinum plans.
I had just heard from talking to an expert that sometimes there is too much. It can be, there's so much choice and people can't tell the difference, and what you want to have is meaningful choice. But if you're saying like you feel at the level we are at right now, which isn't an overwhelming number of plans in each tier, that there is meaningful choice. You know, I'm not gonna, it was just an issue I had heard that is worth talking about, but it doesn't seem like we're too far down this road. I think there are some states that have a ridiculous number in these tiers, and it really gets really hard to choose.
Yeah,
Okay.
it could be possible that you have two carriers come up with a similar benefit design,
Mhm.
but it's very unlikely if you see a one carrier would have a very close benefit design because there's no. So uh, to me, require one a carriers to have like a meaningful benefit difference.
Yeah,
By meta level, I think the carriers themselves would do that.
okay. So you're saying there isn't a need to do, I think there have been
Yeah,
some states where
yeah.
it's been specified in the past, and so I'll take your word for it. Thank
And if
you.
you look, sorry, Jill, back on the slide that Kelly went over, showing what
Yeah.
some other states are doing, you know, there aren't that many of us states that limit the non-standard, but for those of us that do, it seems, you know, Connecticut seems to be right in line
Right.
with what other states are doing.
Right. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So I just had two other comments. One, just thank you to Rob. I don't know if he's on the phone or not, but a lot of good information in those exhibits. So I just wanted to get that on the record that I appreciate all that on behalf of all of us. And secondly, a lot of good information from Wakely too on the percentage of people hitting MOOP, et cetera, which was helpful as we went through the designs. If it's possible for them to do something similar on deductible, and maybe, you know, some sort of skewed curve as to how many people contribute $50, $100, $300 towards their deductible. That might be interesting to see as well and help inform our decisions.
I certainly
this is-
second that.
This is Julie Andrews. That would be happy, something we'd be happy to provide.
Yeah, thank you.
So if there's no other meeting necessary by the committee, we can, you know, Wakely can pull that together and we can share that with the group.
Sounds good. Grant, are you soliciting a motion to adjourn at this point?
Yeah.
'Cause if so,
Okay.
so moved.
I'm sorry. Is that a motion?
Motion to adjourn if it's the appropriate junction, Grant.
Yes. Thank you, Ted. A second?
So Jill, yeah, oh, good. Someone else
Okay.
seconded.
Okay. 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 Vote. Martin, vote.
Graham Rader,
Yes.
Tito Deludo,
Aye, and thanks to the
Mark
staff.
Schaefer, Mark Schaefer. Mr. Schaefer, Matthew Brockman,
Yep.
Boone Goen,
Aye.
Neil Kelsey,
Yes.
Alan Skinner, Jill Zorn,
Aye.
and Manisha Jutani. Thank you.
Okay. We're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to the staff. Good job.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.